Oh, finally. Hello, everybody. It's your Wonderful Wind Mage, your Cruise Ship servant, Chartreuse Proxy, ever and always at your service. Oh my goodness gracious, it is my first stream back since MomoCon, everybody. It is June 4th, and I've been going through technical difficulties, everybody. I've been struggling so hard to be able to get the stream running because I had nothing else running. I basically had OBS, VTube Studio, and just Rapid and Steel going, and guess what had happened? It said I'm dropping 80% of my frames, so then I'm like, why? Why? Is Comcast being a punt to you too? Yeah, and it's like, I know my internet's pretty bad in general, but Jay, like, we live in the same area enough. It's not like there's a storm or anything now, is there? So it's kind of like, Anyway. I hope everybody's doing well. I am very glad to be back after what was essentially about three-ish weeks of not being around. I am gonna have to keep pointing on some things. I know like VTube Studio is not doing the best for it, for the internet side of things or for my expressions. Things surely aren't going the best. But good, I'm here. I want to stream. I want to play Rabbit and Steel because I've been playing this game offline for so much. If I check my Steam hours, I'm already watching, I think, 32 hours offline just playing it. I'll be honest, all of it has just been solo because none of my friends have Rabbit and Steel yet. So I'm like, come on, you idiots. Come on. Play the game with me. I need friends to raid with. And I'm not going to play on one, but, well, I'll play off stream. But on stream, I don't want somebody to say something bad if I just go in a random lobby. So we'll see how it goes. The internet's been intermittent all week. I know, Ein, one of my friends that I played Monster Hunter with on stream, and also, if you've seen my Twitter escapades, I drink with him ever so frequently. His internet's been out since, like, the weekend. You had a tech coming out yourself. I mean, like, the thing is, like, my internet itself is fine. It's just, like, when I booted up OBS, now it's being bad. And the fact is, I'm already streaming at 2,000 bitrate. This is already a compromised stream, all things considered, and it's already just, like, die. But anyway, I am very happy to come to a very warm reception. I got about 4 people talking over here. This is really sweet. So thank you everybody for coming on by. But for you YouTube Andies, let's not delay too much. If you haven't been on the internet for a while now, Rabbit and Steel is a premier raiding roguelike. And when I say raiding, it's like MMO raiding. It is exactly so. The essence of MMO boss battles and everything like that condensed into one nice, neat roguelike package. So our runs usually only take about 30 minutes at most, and it's 1 to 4 player co-op. You get the full experience if you play with up to 4 people or so, for instance. But otherwise, if you're playing by yourself, then it's basically just a bullet hell. So, yeah. And for me, a Toho player, you'll have to see it, ladies and gentlemen. You really love to see it. Alright, yeah, my settings are still fine enough. But the main plot of it is that there is a plot when it comes to for Rabbit and Steel. But in essence, you're playing as rabbits. You're trying to stop a rabbit of the moon from doing something with the moon, which is, I'm not going to spoil the story to you there. But you're going through 3 areas out of 5 pre-selected. And you are playing as one of a total of 10 different classes. 5 are unlocked from the beginning, with 5 more unlocked as you play the game. But like I said, I've been playing this offline. I'm gonna have a lot of no commentary runs that I played at like the stroke of midnight just because I wanted to. So there's all of that. Can't get the 30 minutes because I'd read too much and die. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. That reminds me of Little Hero, but outside the POV of Hero. I have no idea what you're talking about, Jay. But here, basically, like any raiding game, you're gonna have like all your skills and everything like that. It's kind of like a MOBA to where you have 4 skills. I say MOBA, I'm just saying like for skill clarity. You get, like, most of them will fall into 4 categories. Your primary, so your attack. A secondary, which is more often not used to buff your teammates, or it's used to buff a skill, or used for its versatility in, you know, buffing up a skill or setting up. A special is a special, so as it sounds like, it's probably your big nuke that requires some setup or has a mechanic around it. And then finally, you have a defensive, which gives you invulnerability first and foremost. So if you need to cheat past the raid mechanic, then, or if you're going to get hit, then you will press the invincibility button. And it also usually gives you a buff, or gives you or your teammates a buff on the end. So it's a nice risk reward of, do you want to save your defensive to, you know, not die? Or do you want to use it proactively to get a buff out of it, which can help your raid DPS? So, first and foremost, we'll start off with the Wizard Rabbit, the first one here, on iOS of 10. And I'll see how much I want to do, because I also want to do Dicey Dungeon still tonight, since that was my Tuesday docket. But here, the Wizard Rabbit's abilities. Your primary is just you just deal 200 damage AoE, centered on the enemy. So, and it slows your movement speed when you cast it. So you cast it and it slows you down by just a little bit. Lat Moonburst, your secondary, deals 120 damage in a bigger radius around your target, so less damage, bigger AoE, but the main utility out of it is that you can see it charges your special. So, if you take a look at Astral Swirl, my special, deals 280 damage in a large radius around your target. So, highest damaging ability, if I charge it with my Lat Moonburst, that bumps it up to about 440. So, pretty nice, because it deals 1.5 damage, and its cooldown has a 30% chance of resetting when your primary is used. So, immediately, even if you've never played many MMOs before, you would see what the Wizard Rabbit wants to do. They want to use their secondary, Lat Moonburst, to charge their special, Astral Swirl, press the special button, and then anytime it's on cooldown, use your primary to try to reset it luckily and keep your DPS as high as possible. A pretty simple game plan, and it's augmented with your defensive ability, Astral Seal. Erases projectiles around you, so you have brief invulnerability, and places down a magic field that lasts 10 seconds. While you stand in it, you gain Astra, which is dealing 50% more damage. So, you want to stay in your ley lines exactly, simple enough, especially for you Final Fantasy players, and try to take advantage of that damage buff as much as possible. The key thing with it too is that the Wizard Rabbit gets a nice get out of jail free card with how it has 2 uses per cooldown. So it lasts 10 seconds, and so the field lasts 10 seconds, so you can use it offensively if you want to burn a cooldown, and then save the second one defensively. And also, as you go on and choose your rabbits, you get a whole host of cute little palettes. I, of course, trend towards yellow and green. But here is where the little raiding room goes. If you're playing online, you can, you know, test out your abilities with your friends, or just, like, you know, wait for them to choose. But otherwise, you can see this is just how, if you're trying it out for the first time, you can see your mechanics work. From my primary slowing me down, to seeing how my little Astra field works, and how much damage I do with it otherwise. Now, the main thing, too, is that I am going to be playing on hard. There's 4 difficulties in game: cute, normal, hard, and lunar. I am not that good at lunar yet. I still need to practice a lot more, because I haven't done even a single clear yet. But I'm very comfortable on hard. And there's 5 areas in the game, which we'll visit 3 randomly. You can choose to visit one specifically, or you can just choose randomly to get 10 extra gold, which can be used at your shops at every area. I think for me, I just want to wear my tiara as always, though. It's working? Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of working, Endo. I say that as I see my VTube studio lagging every now and then. I can't get V-Bridger up. And also, the big thing, too, is I'm constantly watching my OBS with how, I'm streaming at 2000 bitrate once again, but I keep dropping frames, or it seems like the stream almost stutters every now and then, and I really don't appreciate that. I didn't know about the extra gold random. You're gonna try it next time? Yeah! You can only choose the extra gold random if you've cleared all the areas at least once, So if you haven't cleared, like, Church Mouse or something or so, anything in, or if you just haven't cleared a area, that option's locked until you cleared each one at least once through. Because if you see, like, on Lunar, I can't just go random and get the extra gold. So it's good for if you want to knock out an area. Let's say, I'm the most comfortable with King's Arsenal. I find that to be the easiest area for me. Then yeah, you can choose that advantage, or you can just choose a random and get the 10 gold. But let's finally get on to it, because I've been going on for 10 minutes. YouTube Andies aren't going to like it. But the main thing with Rabbit and Steel that you'll see is it's all about learning the mechanics of each fight and trying to learn, and trying to see how you can adjust and, well, you know, clear them and all. So this one, for instance, is teaching you one of the most important ones in Routing Steel, which is just seeing how every single mechanic will tell you what it's asking you to do. It's going to tell you to get in the line so you don't get hit on the sides. It's telling you it's going to cleave the sides, so you need to stay in the very middle of the screen. Every single mechanic is super diegetic, so even if you don't know stats, spreads, or any other, you know, terminology of MMOs, it'll just say, get in a circle, keep moving, stop moving, everything like that, you know? So let's take a look at things here. We are in the very first area, the Kingdom Outskirts, where it's just 3 fights and 2 chests, which will affect our loot. When you're playing in multiplayer, everybody gets their hand at picking one piece of loot, and you can even do the need-greed system, rolling the dice to see if you get it if somebody wants the same thing. But for solo, you just get a choice of 3, and you have to choose one. So, avoid surrounding enemies with Ghost Flame when you gain invulnerability, and slightly increase my movement speed. First and foremost, I love Maid outfits. So let's take a look. Ghost Flame. It's a status effect. Deals damage when applied and upon wearing off. So, anytime I press my defensive Astral Seal, it'll apply Ghost Flame. So that's 250 straight up, and 250 after that wears off 5 seconds later. So 500 damage every time I press my Astral Seal. Pretty good, all things considered, not to mention it increases my movement speed, and nobody's ever going to say no to MS. Whenever you have a buff, your movement speed increases significantly, and you deal 25% more damage. That seems very, very good, considering how I will always have a buff from Astra. So just a 25% damage increase paired with the Astra buff means I will just be dealing 40% damage. Or Time Age Cap. Cooldowns less than or equal to 10 seconds become 5 seconds. So I can make Astral Swirl's cooldown go from 7 to 5. And that's really it. So that's probably the least that I want. So it's either the Maid outfit or the Shrine Maidens. So the main thing is 500 damage. That's basically I'm getting 1,000 damage per use of Astral Seal out here. Versus 25% more damage all the time. So I don't know how much damage I could potentially be doing with my Astral Swirl. Let's consider that. If I'm really going to be doing almost 50% more, plus my charge, so like we said, 280 or 282 because of my level right now. So increase that by 50% because of my charge. So I'll be looking at about 441 plus 15% plus 40. So let's consider it's just almost about to be doubled. So instead of 280 damage, I'd be doing about 560. 560. So I could do 560. If I get a reset on it, that would be almost 1,000. And I would constantly have 2 chances to do it. So depends on if I get to build special more, or if I just want to just press twice over and have Maid outfit go. I think I'll just go for the Shrine Maidens. Why not? Because if I can, I'd like to build right immediately towards that high special burst. There's 457, not bad. I should have pressed charge on it first, though. That's my B on my damage rotation. But yeah, you're going to see how all of the how everything is super diegetic from what it explains it needs to you. So you can see it says tether. So I can only go so far out to each side of the map right here, basically, as you can see. And while just dodging the other circles around. But you're seeing how all the fight mechanics are immediately transcribed to you. I'm seeing the orbs spawn, it's telling me the direction that they're moving, it's showing me the little balls at the bottom of the screen, how they are going to show up at the bottom and start going up. Increase special damage by 20% every 12 seconds, using your special to grant you invulnerability. Interesting, the invulnerability is nice for defense, especially if I want to stay inside my Astra bubble. The counter hit on the damage on this item will decrease instead of you taking damage. It starts at 3, so 3 free hits, considering I only have 5 life. It's a pretty good item, but it doesn't help my damage potential. Whenever you deal damage, there's a 10% chance to apply Decay, which is just a dot. Wizard's not a fast casting class, so I don't want that. I mean, Emerald Chestplate's never bad, but I'm already building towards Big Newt Special, so we're taking the Stuffed Rabbit, without a doubt. Because that already puts me up to 346 for my special damage. So, buff with my secondary. See what damage I can do. I put it risky right there, trying to just read for as much damage as I could. But I can't stay in my ley line at all times, unfortunately. Just because I keep putting it where the immediate orb is. So it's a little annoying that I'm not getting my immediate Shrine Maiden buff. That's just how it goes. Just a nice, simple start enough. So you always have this opening area of exactly so 3 fights and 2 chests before you get into your first major area. Because it lets you immediately start fleshing out your build on what you want to get. So, I already have something that's for my defensive and something that's for my special. So, at the shop, with the gold that I've earned, the 45 that I've got, you can see at the top right of my little player card, I can immediately start looking at which upgrades that I want. I can buy a full heal for 5, I can buy a level for 5, and it's unlimited. Each level translates to 1% of damage. So if you have nothing good that you want out of the upgrades, you can get, or potions, which will last for the area. This regen will heal me up to 2 times, so I can basically have up to 7 hits, provided I last 3 fights. More movement speed, any invulnerability effect lasts longer, so my special proc from Stuffed Rabbit or my Astral Seal, instead of it being for like 1 damage of 1 damage, what am I saying? 1 second of invulnerability would be 2. So really good for a defensive run. But let's read the main things, because there is 5 gems. Opal, Sapphire, Emerald, Ruby, and I think Quartz is the last one. But each of them corresponds to basically a different build archetype that you can have your abilities to go through. So take this for instance. Opal Primary does more damage in a bigger radius and decreases all other cooldowns by 2 seconds each time it's used. Nice utility! Deals more damage, 3 uses and a cooldown of 8 seconds, deals 30 more damage if the enemy is facing away from you. Interesting. So it wants me to incentivize backstabbing, as if I'm playing an assassin class. But I don't see how many times I'm going to get that chance necessarily as much. I'm looking at this. Deals more damage, cooldown is shorter but no longer randomly resets. Interesting considering how many times I want to. Because a 4-second cooldown instead of a 7 means I can guarantee get it off every time I press my Emerald Seal. No longer places down a field. Damage of all abilities increased by 20%. Well, that's nice. It doesn't give me the Astra buff anymore, which is crucial towards my Shrine Maiden. So that is a bad take. So instead, it's the Astral Soil, which I'm thinking about. And instead of going for the random resets, I'll just take the consistency on it. So, pretty good. Then I have 18 left, so I think I will buy 1 level. But I want to save my money next time to see if I can buy 2 upgrades for my stuff. Also, don't forget to head pat the shop cat. Give her all the head pats and fluffs, people. Yeah, that is my first store. It changes you find a store at the beginning of every area, so use it or lose it more often than not. But here we have the King's Arsenal. The main gimmick with this one is that this is full of the wolves, like the wolf people. These lovely critters will be doing a lot of big beam attacks, as you can see right here, and my big beam attacks and not bad. So it's going to constantly keep pushing you out and away from particularly your comfort zone anytime they can get a chance. So it's up to you to understand where they're knocking you back and making sure that you are not in any of the damage zones whenever it finally does activate. You're seeing my DPS has jumped about 50 by 50 with my upgrade, so that's fantastic. So we're going to get a whole influx of mechanics here, and I took damage because I wasn't looking at all of them. We have these countdowns, so those AoEs are counting down and will expand out 1, 2, 3 times as stated right there. You're seeing these daggers floating out that are just going to be naturally, in the way generally, but they will always follow on their predetermined path. And also, you're seeing this stretch the tether. If I'm too close to that red tether by the timer, when the timer expires, then it will damage me. So I have to move until the tether turns well, white, to denote that, yes, I'm in a safer range. So this is my favorite enemy in the entire game, Tasha, the Snowfur Wolf. She is all about these cleaving one side mechanics here. So you're seeing, anytime she's going to be attacking, she's immediately telegraphing where she's going to be hitting you from, but also switching up the side that she's going to. So you have to pay attention to every single arrow that appears, and making sure that you are not caught in the crossfire for when her abilities finally do detonate. So you're seeing she'll constantly keep moving, and you just need to understand which space is safe when she finally does move at the very end of her abilities. So you can see here, I have to get in a circle, but the Tasha on the left is moving all the way to the right. So I just need to obey that command and make sure I'm in the right place at the right time. I am missing a little bit of damage from my rotation here, but it's okay. Like for this one here, I did not see that the top was highlighted in the cleaving one side, so I took a hit because of that. But it's alright. But you're seeing how easily, even though I said I've been playing hard a lot, you can still get caught off guard by some of these mechanics and not be aware of, ah, crap, I took this hit because I didn't see this side was highlighted, for instance, or so. All damage you deal increased by 50%. Percent chance triggers no longer happen, and you no longer hit for critical damage. Interesting. Your secondary strength becomes your special and defensive cooldown added together, multiplied by 10, divided by the number of times your secondary hits your target. Considering my secondary is crucial of my rotation, but I just bumped down my special's cooldown. That sucks. It's 20 seconds, 20 and 4, so 24, so that'd be 240 damage instead of 166. But, like I said, because I did tip my cooldown of my special, time space factor is interesting, but it doesn't do as much as I'd like. Every 12 seconds, using your special will deal 400 more damage. So 400 more, or I could just keep buffing my special to just be bigger in general. Because I could have crits hit for 75% more damage, or just go for the 50, and considering how I already took the Opal upgrade, which doesn't randomly reset, I might as well, right? Sit 79, not even counting my Shrine Maiden, my Charge, and my Astra. Yeah, this is gonna start hurting really, really stupidly, Chief. So, our area boss, Maron, the Steel-Tooth Wolf. Yeah, 1400 just by itself right there. Yeah, I think I've made the right decision. So Marin right here is going to combine the mechanics I talked about before of cleaving to a side and knocking back. So you can see I'm trying to make sure that I'm on the correct side of the field where she isn't going to be cleaving once her cooldown finally expires. Just making sure I'm always in a zone that is not designated, right? She is now using Field Limit, which you can see by the steel bots. This is the most that I can actually move around in for the next batch of her attacks. Fortunately, though, I'm able to stay both in the areas where she's not cleaving, while dodging the daggers that are coming down on us. Now, you can see, she puts us to the side here for a second, while trying to throw daggers at us, and we have to go to her left or right side wherever she is, considering how otherwise those cleaves will start catching up to us, and really start hurting instead. You can see, all the previous fights so far in this zone have prepared us for this exact boss fight, in demonstrating what the boss's mechanics are, with knockbacks, with cleaves, and everything, and making sure that we understand what needs to be done if we want to succeed against this boss. I would have gotten hit by that knockback right there, but thank goodness for the little bit of invulnerability that I had from my defensive. So now we are entering phase 2, to where, because, we are a rabbit and we're fighting other animals, they all can transform into, animalistic beasts, as you can see. So now we enter Marin's second form, to where this is all just about understanding where she's attacking you, where she's trying to hurt you from. Because as long as I stay in these little zones here, I'm perfectly untouchable, but you'd see, I have to keep adjusting myself, because it is not a safe place at all if I just think I'm gonna be totally fine. So now, her next attack is to first and foremost get me in one area before forcing me into this nice little zoomed in time stop. The key thing is that she cancels your ability to use your defensive here. So this all comes down to your bullet hell reflexes and making sure that you can dodge. You can't use your invulnerability. You can't cheese that section unless you have like some gear that gives you invulnerability otherwise. Now I will use my Astra right there to cheese things because I thought I had a free hit, but I was going to be just clipped by everything right there because I used my primary, which slowed me down. And see, I'm just trying to make use of my Shrine Maidens as much as possible here. But this fight is almost there. I think one more rotation of damage and I'll have her. The next phase, I have to dodge the daggers and also dodge these cross beams here. As long as I stay within my lanes of attack, I am totally fine. I also didn't press my defensive, so kind of would be nice if I could, you know, I don't know, start proccing my damage. Thank you. But overall, a very successful fight. No damage taken, pretty fast DPS, almost breaking 400 is very, very good considering my gear. And we are on to the next zone, Emerald Whiteside. So, what do we have at our shop this time? Grant Astra to myself for 7 seconds, cooldown is decreased, no longer always a field. So instead of the field that lasts me for 10, I get Astra for 7, and the cooldown is decreased, so I never have to stay in it. That guarantees Shrine Maidens, but it lasts less. Has a 50% chance to Omega Charge your special and reset its cooldown. Interesting, considering how much damage I'm doing, because Charge is just 1.5 damage. Omega Charge is 3 times, and considering how I'm not doing crits, that seems really nice, but I have to remember, the percent chance is no one to trigger, so I actually can't take that one. It's actually bad. Has a larger radius and deals more damage. Has a cooldown of 4 seconds. That just means I can just rotate it into my cooldowns then, so... Swirl, secondary, primary, secondary, special, secondary, primary, special, secondary, primary. So I can just rotate that in. So I think I'd like to do that then. So let's buy it, and let's see our potions. Deal 1500 into all enemies 50 seconds into each fight. Sorry, I'm just shipping. I'm just sipping the milkshake that I made for myself. Not milkshake, smoothie. Ah, it's that late at night now. No, definitely get to boss fights, but I don't see my regular fights lasting as long, so we're just going to sit on this, quite frankly, here. Increase your special damage by 20%. Interesting. Funny. Do I think it would be useful? I think it'd be funny for the damage numbers, so we take it. Make you harder to hit. Shrinking your hitbox, so last until the next stage. Yeah, it's fine, but otherwise, I'll just buy one more level, and then we'll sit on this right before. The main thing with Rabbit and Steel to also understand is that the amount of, what's his face? The rewards that you get, so the experience and the levels that you, the experience, yeah, the levels that you get, what's his face? The experience and the money that you get at the end of each hallway fight, or yeah, even including the boss fights, all things considered, is dependent on how fast that you clear it. Because if you see at the top right, there is a timer that ticks down with that's considered this gauge that you see here. So the faster that you clear fights, you get more experience points and money. So it's incentivized as a very big constant DPS chat to try to deal as much damage as you consistently can. So the main gimmick here of this new zone, the Emerald Whiteside, is twofold. You're seeing stop and keep moving constantly here, to where I have to either stay moving, otherwise I will take the damage, or stop moving, or I will take damage. Same either or, but the main thing is that it's forcing you to understand where you need to stand, and obeying the calls of all the bosses that you're constantly fighting here. So for instance, against Blush here, it's not too hard to understand, at least when you're playing solo, of just get into the lane of your color, but now we're gonna have to do it in tune, basically, to where, alright, go to number 1, go to number 2, go to number 3, and you can see immediately how, for somebody who's learning the mechanics for the first time, that could easily be a bit learning curve to understand with trying to get to your assigned color in time. So for instance, the yellow is on the very other side here, and yet I have to stay inside these rings if I want to actually not take damage while dodging the expanding ring, and you're just seeing how everything is a wonderful symphony and cascade of, oh my goodness gracious, I have to keep moving and make sure I don't get hit. So you can see, need to get into the blue, number 1, then number 2, trying to get into my Astra Circle for my Shrine Maidens to proc. Ooh, I greeted for that right there. I greeted for that hit, but I got lucky. So now I need to go to red and orange. Well, I'll get otherwise, because I'm dealing almost 1,000 per special charge at that node, which is so funny, dude. Your primary inflicts bleed, extra damage from your ability, or your defense, extra damage reduced for ally hits. So, great for multi-hitting, because every hit that you do will deal 20 damage every time, but since Wizard's a sword class, bad. Every 20 times you, or debuffs you apply deal damage to an enemy, apply Spark, which is damage that deals to everybody. But since I'm Wizard, which has big AoEs, and since I'm not dealing that many hits, just big, constant, big single hits, not the best, so instead, Black Steel Butler, your defensive range decreases by 30%, but now has a 2-second shorter cooldown and grants counter, which is a 50% buff to your next attack. So, in a perfect world, I charge my special, I press for counter and Astra, so I am gonna deal so much stupid damage, that is almost 1,500 by itself already. Oh, baby girl. Let's see this damage number. Yeah, almost 2,000, dude. That's absolutely ridiculous. Press it again. 2,000. Yep, there we go. We got it that time. We got it. So you're seeing here, the other big thing to understand as well is, well, of course, with me taking that trait, though, my ley line is a lot smaller. So it's going to be a lot harder to want to obey it. And I might take the hit because I greeted for that ley line right there. I will be honest with you. So, my own fault, but I'm just having fun with it. Just look at this damage, dude. Look at this damage. So give and take with this build, like I said, and just, alright. My ley line is smaller, but it is a pretty beefy damage upgrade, all things considered here when you take a look at it at the end. I'm really getting close to getting hurt so many times here. So, you see, with our boss here, it's combining all the mechanics that we've seen in the Emerald Light so far, of matching colors, of stopping, starting, moving, or other things, such as the tether that we saw in the very first area of the game, for instance, here. Oh goodness, dude, this damage rotation is absolutely ridiculous. Just to see me constantly pumping out thousands of damage without even trying is hilarious. So welcome to AV's animal form. So of course, Emerald Light side, they are a frog. And well, we gotta deal with a lot more colors, shapes, everything like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Get in my ley line, and then we restart again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get in the zone, and then counter with my ley line for all that extra damage. I took damage because, even though I was in the circle, I continued moving, so that is my own fault there. Oh, reach it. I'm good. Alright, take advantage of the ley line, damage as much as I can. I have to follow yellow, so unfortunately my damage here is being a good amount gimped, considering how I have to keep moving out and away from my ley lines constantly, but it's whatever. Read for the damage that I can. Get back to the line so I can get my Shrine Maiden proc. Get to the ley line! I took damage again. Oh well, it's fine. It is totally fine, Chief. So, following blue now. Don't greed, don't die, don't be stupid, Cruzie. Counter damage, please. There we go. I was about to say, I pressed my primary hoping to actually DPS check. Just since the primary slows me, if it didn't kill, I actually would have been out of the circle and probably died right there. So, a lot closer than I honestly should have been, but it's totally fine. Hey there, Protoss. Hope you're doing well, Chief. Alrighty. So, first and foremost, we are buying health very badly, because I need the full heal. Damage is much higher, but now has a cooldown of 5 seconds. Considering how my rotation is just straight up 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I think I am fine with this. I'll buy a special upgrade once more, and then I'll just buy the levels, considering how it's only the opal upgrade that I need next. So, sitting by themselves, 864, 480, 875. If I charge my special, it is sitting at 1600, not even counting what additional damage I could be doing. This is ridiculous, dude. Because, yeah, with that counter buff, for instance, that is wickedly stupid and funny. It's so funny that I literally have to wait on my cooldowns here just because everything is on such a long timer, dude. But this damage is ridiculous! You've been playing RimWorld? Brother, you're gonna say that, I see what you're saying there, you're gonna tell a story, but quite frankly, I know nothing about RimWorld, like, at all, so, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So I'm just saying that straight up, Protoss. Oh, why'd I press counter, and then use my secondary instead of using my special with it? That is a error on my end. But anyway, welcome to the third area of this run, the Chartreuse Streets. You're seeing here that the gimmick here with them is that I am going to be constantly restricted on my movement wherever I can go. Alongside how this is paired fights constantly here. I am constantly dealing with groups of enemies as opposed to just one by themselves more often than not. So if you are a class that is not that is not very inclined on AoE, then it could be a problem for you, all things considered. But seeing how I am playing one of the better AoE classes, it's no problems here, Chief. I can just stay in my corner here and just mash damage from afar. Ow. Okay, now that is a mistake there. I was trying to get to the center and I just couldn't get to it in time. Plop my ley line on the corner here. I just move within that circle. Oops. Oh. Mistakes are being had very badly. You can see here, it's just all about making sure that you aren't caught on the wrong rotation when everything's coming around. Because attacks are very telegraphed, of course. I think Chartreuse has the most telegraphed attacks, more than anything else in Rabbit and Steel. But it's all about understanding where you need to move in these telegraphed attacks. And Chartreuse more than anything. Your primary and secondary have a 5% chance to deal damage, to deal basically 500 damage to a large radius, but I'm a slow caster, so bad. 40 times you or debuffs you apply deal damage to an enemy, gain invulnerability. Very nice item, but I'm a slow caster, so instead, Storm Pedagogue. 250 damage to all enemies when you gain invulnerability. Anytime I'm using my special, that's 250 more damage, so it's just moving my damage line up. Pretty good, all things considered. Well, considering how the other choices weren't the best, but it's just a good item in general, too. So, we are fighting Mati, the Paladin Mouse, and I took damage. Main thing with her is that she is going to teach you to have to understand you need to move and obey her move commands. When she says you move, you have to move. Hey there, D3, hope you're doing well. You didn't miss much, this is just the first run of the night, considering how I had bad internet problems. How was your art stream the other day, mate? Protoss, I appreciate your stories more often than not, Chief, but I told you. Okay, actually, I see that you had the ad, so maybe you weren't able to tell me in time. You weren't able to hear me because you did have the ad. But brother, I know nothing about RimWorld, like legitimately nothing about the settings. So this is your story is unfortunately gonna fall upon deaf ears. Alright, but back to it, because I, need to not die to Matty. Main thing about her is that she's she's going to keep pushing you around in her first phase and making you have to keep moving and obeying all over knockbacks, all over move commands, and wherever you go. You just need to understand her patterning first and foremost. Then, in her second phase, she summons all of her loyal allies that you had been fighting previously in the run. Unfortunately, I'm playing Wizard, so, AoE. Just kill all of them in one go. But yeah, like I said, you can see more than the other areas. Churchmouth Streets forces you to stay in a very confined area and obey where, gosh darn it, where the game wants you to move more than anything here. And I've taken a lot of stupid damage here. I'm down to already 2 hits. So let's not toss this run here. This is already Area 3, Cruzie. Nice. Destroyed them before the AoE really started being a problem. So let's target the mice on the side here. So now you're seeing we have to stay in the center for this attack, but also break the tether while avoiding the big orbs. So the way to beat this attack is to exactly so. Follow in lockstep behind one of the big orbs. Preferably the one going away from the tether, obviously, or so. Because it is a very tight timing window that if you are playing a slower class, you could absolutely get clipped on. Considering how I have the Shrine Maiden's garb, meaning that I get extra MS while I'm inside my special range, I have a little bit more leeway on this end. But once again, if you're playing a slower class, that could be really, really bad for your chances at general survival at all. You know, so counter cheese that? Yes, you definitely can too. But, you know, not every class is going to be as well blessed as the others when it comes to that end. Alright, just be careful. So you're seeing here, we have our first revolving lasers in the run, because we didn't do Red Dark House for you first-time viewers. But it's just all about working in your confined space and understanding where your safe zones are here. Not ideal for Assassin? Yeah, some classes struggle with bosses more than anything, but I feel like there's just others like Druid that, you know, I know Druid's gonna get patched a little bit more, but it just feels bad sometimes. I've gotten the Opal defensive upgrade at every shop so far, dude. I don't want it, considering how even though the leyline is smaller, I do prefer standing in it, so I have all of my rotations. I mean, well, technically, I don't necessarily have to, considering how the global cooldown means I'll get 2 abilities off, so maybe it is better, considering how it just gives me the MS, and since how everything is on a large cooldown, it could just be better. You know what? Why not? Why not? Got up to you, Reddit, the Pale Keep. I mean, it's my first run. I did a lot of explaining for the YouTube peeps that are going to be watching anyway. Okay, Protoss, let me catch up on this, dude. All I'm getting is that you had a colonist beat a raider to death with a wooden log. RimWorld is a sci-fi colony management sim with a mod that has magic? Oh, okay, dude. That's a lot of stuff. It's a colony sim. It's a colony sim. I really don't play those too much, so that's just not on my wheelhouse. So I'm sorry for my lacking understanding on this end, then. Alright, so I don't have to... remember, because you have the Opal upgrade now, Cruzie, you don't have to stay close at all. You can just disregard where you need to be in terms of your ley lines, considering how you just always have the buff and you don't have a ley line field anymore now. But this is the final area of the game, the Pale Keep. This just has a few enemies which are which vary in their effectiveness and what they exactly do. It's a very much a smaller enemy list, but it does ask you for a few crucial things, such as this one here, the Queen's Axe, which is a straight-up damage check. You can see here, I have to stay to one side or the other as it keeps cleaving, but this middle zone will just keep expanding farther and farther until it takes up the entire screen. So, it is probably one of the scariest DPS checks, at least for me, because I always feel like, am I gonna beat it or not? I do not feel comfortable here. This does not feel good. Alrighty. I should have pressed my invuln right there to get my full damage out of my special. Yeah, straight 2500s, dude. You'll love to see it. Just look at that. Look at that damage. It's so nice. Okay, so I get it, Protoss. I'm not really getting too much out of this here. Activates with standing still for a blow, 250. Not really needed. 12 seconds. Standing still will grant you brief invulnerability. I mean, it resets my defensive, but it's not that my awareness are always going to be down. Reduce my special cooldown by 2 seconds. Considering how I always have something on cooldown, that's really nice, because now my special is just on 2 seconds, dude. I can just use it every other ability, so that's really nice. 9 times out of 10, this area is super easy, but then the one time your DPS sets, it always feels like, yeah, your DPS sets, or I get the harp to where you have to keep moving or stop moving, and dude, my movement, or I just take every item that slows me down. I'm like, I hate everything in my life. But to catch you up, D3, my build, I have the trinket that makes me not crit anymore, but I just deal 50% more damage. So my special is just hitting like a truck, as you're seeing here. So you can see here, yeah, without even trying, that's just a casual 1k, 2k just about for my special. And now the fact that I have the brush, which means my special is just ready every other cooldown, this is just ridiculously stupid, dude. But anyway, welcome to Shira, the Rabbit of the Moon, the final boss of the run. And even though she's the final boss, she's unfortunately pretty easy compared to some of the areas. Because her moveset, I feel, just doesn't challenge you as much. Now, it does involve attacks from all the other areas, for instance. So yeah, you can see matching colors from the Emerald Lake side, for instance. Alongside some moonbeams here from what you'd get from more from the Red Dark House, which is one of the areas we didn't get to see. Cleaving from one side from King's Keep, for instance, and see, just keeps going on from there. She combines all the elements, but it really sounds hard to me. She isn't that hard, all things considered here, I'll be honest to you. Now granted, am I able to even clear a single area on Lunar yet? No, I have not been able to, so I'll see how hard those clears go in the future, yeah? So we're getting these squares again from the Mati Paladin fight. So just got to understand where we got to stand as she pushes us out and around. Usually getting to her is harder than actually finding her. True, but if that's not storytelling, I don't know what is, of a lover who I won't spoil the campaign necessarily. It's not the best, you know, single player campaign necessarily, but it is, you know, cute enough for what it does, and also just the reasons for the plot plus some of the characters are pretty funny, all things considered here. So I'll leave that to you single player Andies, because I believe you can only get the single player content when you can only, you know, get the campaign interactions for when you're, you know, actually playing a single player. You can't do it online from what I've read, and I've only played solo, so I played it pretty fast, and I enjoyed the story for what it was enough. But it's a roguelike game. You're not getting that much of a story unless your name is Supergiant and you made Hades. You're seeing here, yep, just dodging around, making sure that I'm obeying where the beams are going, and also where, let's say where all the squares are constantly spawning here. Now the main thing as well is that Shira is also just a straight DPS chat because of the meteor and this attack that you're seeing right here. She's charging an unavoidable attack, so we have to, ow, darn it, so we have to, exactly so, defend ourselves on that end. Because once that meter fills, you're taking damage unless you steal yourself! And by that I mean using your defensive trait, like so. She rotates that attack constantly in her fight here, so on higher difficulties, you will have shorter, I guess, like reprieve attacks and waves, like these ones here, before she does that again, and with lesser and lesser warning over time. So because of that, she is, well, of course, every MMO boss will be a DPS chat. The fact is, she is going to be the biggest test of time in showing, can you consistently deal damage while absolutely hitting her? Because as the fight drags on, I feel like your patterns actually do get harder. And not to mention, of course, too, you're trying to use your defensive more proactively at the higher levels in using it for its traits, like me using it for the counter and the Astra. and how I don't have it on cooldown because I exactly used it for the counter and the Astra, and I got greedy, so I'm taking that hit. I pressed counter with the wrong item, but it's fine. With the wrong ability, but it's fine. Is that his hair gone? And that is the last Adept palette that I didn't have yet. So wonderful, because I hadn't done a wizard run yet, I don't think. Are you chanting her for, what, 1500? Just about, because if I go through my items here, I got Shineman's Cruzie first, so whenever I have a buff, more movement speed and 25% more damage. So, of course, staying in my wave lines is 15% damage, plus 25, so 40%. I got Stuffed Rabbit, so 20%. So, already now, I'm sitting at 60% more damage. Kyono Omikuji. All damage you increase is increased by 50. All damage is increased by 50%, but no more crits. So, that's 110% damage. Plus his cooldown being lowered. Plus, the charge from my Lot Moonburst, so 924 with my current level. If I press everything plus counter, 1749. Not even counting, you know, what variation there should be. So, pretty good, all things considered. Consistently holding above 1k. That's a pretty nice run. Very, very happy. And that is almost 50 minutes of a run for YouTube content.